random registration plate checks in Bangor, Wisconsin. He ran the plates of a passing vehicle and discovered it was registered to 29-year-old Ashley Stalsberg. It displayed her driving status to be suspended due to failure to pay a forfeiture. As he activated his lights and sirens, his speed increased to 124 miles per hour and noticed her vehicle was still pulling away. The deputy lost sight of Ashley after a few miles and provided dispatch with a description of her vehicle. Moments later, he observed her vehicle in the ditch and believed she had been involved in a single vehicle crash.
Approximately 100 is still driving through the ditch right now.
Okay.
805 to 1.
She continued through the ditch, ignoring the deputy.
10-4 is still driving, Wisconsin plate. Adam Lincoln Young, 8527. Adam Lincoln Young, 8527. We're still on Big Creek Road, driving through the east ditch right now. Turning eastbound on Hamilton.
After a brief pursuit, her vehicle pulled over. The deputy observed smoke coming from the vehicle, believing that it may have become disabled.
Okay, north on DC.
Coming to a stop just north of that intersection.
Please let the vehicle stop.
10-4, it's smoking.
Driver, let me see your hands. Step out of the vehicle.
Sounds like
Get out of the vehicle.
driving all over the road into the ditch. Not really sure at this point.
Get out of the vehicle. Turn around and face away from me. Put your hands above your head. Put your hands above your head. I'll explain it to you once I get your custody. Raise your hands. Put your hands above your head. Do it now. Pull your sweatshirt up with your hands.
117, what about her?
Turn around. All right. What? Yeah. I tried to stop you in La Crosse County. You were going 100 on 16. Yes, you were. Keep your hands up.
Ashley stated that she didn't feel comfortable, ran off, and fled into the cornfield.
Stay out of the car.
No, get away from me. Get away from me. I do not feel safe. I do not have to stay with you. You are not a Monroe County officer.
I was trying to stop you.
You are not.
Yes, I was. My lights and sirens.
Get away from me. Get away from me. You are not a Monroe County
117, she's taken off on me on foot northbound.
Get away from me.
117, she's running through the east ditch cornfield right now. I can still hear 117. I copy. I believe the subject is going to be the registered owner. She's continuing slowly through the cornfield. I believe she's still moving north.
You go at.
She's somewhere right back in here.
Okay.
I guess go up a little bit and we'll try and set up at least like somewhat of a perimeter.
All right. Sounds good.
Ashley, just come out towards the sound of my voice.
A perimeter was set up, and the area was checked with thermal imaging and night vision. However, Ashley wasn't located.
Yeah. So I saw her in Bangor and tried to turn around on her because I saw she was suspended. As soon as she got around to 16, she was flying. So I finally did the same direction radar. She went 71. So I tried to speed up, and as soon as I started speeding up, she started speeding up. I was going 124, and she was going over 100, and then did on a big creek. And by the time I caught up to her, she was in the ditch. I don't know where she would last be. Somewhere in this area would be my best guess.
Where did you see where she went in?
Yeah, she ran like right in front of her. She ran down a little bit and then ran in probably like there about, and I could hear her, but then once 805 got here, I couldn't hear anything over his engine. Blue, purple, hooded sweatshirt, jeans, and she had a gray leather bag with her, like a purse. But I don't feel like we ran that far, but I don't know. I don't really ever run, so I had adrenaline going.
Right. Must have hit a post or something, or no, it's corn.
It's corn. Yeah, there's corn on her windshield. I'm pretty sure I could look at a DL photo. I haven't looked at that yet, but descriptors matched.
Yeah.
She tried to tell me she wasn't eluding, but you know, when you're going like 114 on Big Creek, I'm pretty sure you're doing stuff you shouldn't be doing.
The K9 for the county is way over on the other side of the county, and we don't even know if it's available yet because it's Saturday night.
Okay.
So, her?
Yep, that's her.
It's up to you guys on what you want to do. Do you want to apprehend her, or do you want to refer charges? She'll come out walking at some point. It's up to you, though. I mean, we can straight up call K9 or go in and get her ourselves. I mean, she's not going to be able to go very far in here.
Right.
We're figuring out whether or not we got a positive ID on her, so it depends on what they want to do. If they want to apprehend her, we'll probably get her walking sooner or later.
We got a phone number for her. Why don't you try calling her?
Okay.
And not be completed as the called party is temporarily unavailable. Please try again later.
I think she turned her phone off. It says it can't be complete. Is it in there? Oh.
What we'll do is we'll just obviously patrol through here, and when she calls for a ride or whatever, see any vehicles coming through here, I guess we'll see.
All right.
Is she, you know, if she's a doper or what?
Yeah, she is. Meth is her preference. So she's relatively new in the dope game, though. I think she's only been doing dope for a year and a half, maybe, best of my knowledge.
Okay.
So how old is she?
I don't know. I didn't look.
She's born in '92.
Yeah.
We only have the one booking record with her. Spartan's only got her once. I've never gotten her. I think she might have been involved in Merkel's pursuit with that motorcycle.
About 16 hours later, a Monroe County Sheriff's deputy attempted to locate her at an address. While en route, the deputy observed a vehicle pass him and noticed the female driver look away at the same time. He ran the vehicle plates and discovered it was registered to the same address where they were going to attempt to locate her. By looking at a past jail booking photo of her, the deputy believed it to be Ashley, so he conducted a traffic stop.
Hi, Sergeant Oswald from the Sheriff's Office. The reason I'm stopping you is for traveling 63 into 55. Going 60? Do you know what the speed limit is here? I can't hear you. Do you mind stepping out of the vehicle for me? Step out of the vehicle. What's that? You are stepping out. 9 to 17. You want to head this way.
I do not have to step out of the vehicle.
You do have to step out.
I know my rights. I've done nothing wrong.
Okay. Well, not only is your speed one reason why I'm stopping you, but I believe La Crosse County wants to talk to you. So I need you to step out of the vehicle now.
No.
You do need to step out.
Am I under arrest?
Yes. Step out of the vehicle.
Really, dude?
Step out of the vehicle. You are under arrest. Get out. Right now. Step out of the vehicle now.
Alrighty. This is off to an interesting start. I kind of want to sit here and watch this video rather than stream for a minute. This guy, Blue Code Cams, that's his channel name, right? His videos do incredibly well on the first day. This one has 299,000 views in the first 6 hours. I really need to talk to this guy and learn how to do what he does. So, I mentioned yesterday, I haven't been feeling the greatest this week, but I went ahead, I did a little workout tonight, which kind of helped clean out the chest a little bit. I've got some hot water with 2 Hall's cough drops that I'm sipping on. And I got Lenny in the background. He's going to come help me out in just a minute. think I'm going to bring Lenny in. What's up, buddy?
Define help. How can I help you?
Well, when I do that and I have to turn off my mic, you just need to talk. How's that sound?
Oh, okay. I'll just say some shit. My mustache is acting up a little bit today.
Is it not staying on?
No, it just doubles and stuff.
Oh,
I feel like the camera's a lot closer than it was before. So
you got better light.
I do have a better light. It even
So
changes
it's
colors. I can set the mood if we'd like.
I'm in a good mood. I like this.
Okay.
Did you go with 2 lights like I mentioned, or is it just one that's like flooding everything?
I gotta save up for a second light. I'm I'm poor. I'm a meme lord, so I'm working towards that 39 cents for another light bulb, but we're gonna get there.
Fantastic. Let's see. Before we got here, Ohio Patriot dropped a $5 super chat. Thank you very much, buddy. And he recently joined the Discord server, which is cool. I noticed that the other day. That's about it. All the usual suspects are here chatting away. If somebody can help me, I was kind of watching this video, but not super watching the video. Were you watching the video, Lenny?
No, I was just looking at myself and how handsome I was. I wasn't really paying attention.
Have you ever watched Blue Code Cam before?
I haven't actually.
Code Blue Cam.
I don't do a lot of YouTube except for you. You should feel special.
I don't do a lot either, but if I want something to talk about, usually his channel is the first one I go to, and he does drop in the chat occasionally, which is really cool. He's a fan.
Oh, he was here yesterday, or not yesterday, but last week, right?
Yeah, last time, and I didn't get a chance to like acknowledge him other than highlight the fact that he was here. So let's see. This video is 9 minutes of a 14-minute video so far. I kind of want to see how it ends.
I really want to see her ripped out of the car. That's what I'm hoping for.
I think it's coming. That's what she said.
Not to me, but whatever.
But I don't have it up for everybody else. Not to you. You never heard that before? I'm sorry.
No. It's got to last longer than 30 seconds, but
maybe someday.
We'll get there.
Yeah, so what was it? I think it was out of a speeding stop. And
I thought she ran into some corn. That intrigued me because I was like, is this in Iowa? All the corn?
It's in Wisconsin. Everything he does is in Wisconsin.
Okay.
He's kind of like me. He's kind of localized.
Okay.
Although I don't know anything about him, where people know everything there is about me. Yeah, so
I bet he's bald and has a mustache and is also handsome.
I'm gonna have to start pressuring him to show me, because I'm very curious now. It's not fair because mine's already out there. Yeah. It's like, never mind. It's like asking for nudes from a porn star. Like, what?
You might get something nobody's ever seen, an angle, you know.
That would be a challenge. That would be quite the challenge.
I believe.
I don't think I'm creative enough to think about what that might be.
Well, we got to keep it PG for the kids, right?
Sure. We'll see. Well, this isn't going to be super PG stream. But this, so how did she get away? How did she run?
I wasn't paying enough attention. Somebody else is going to have to do our jobs for us.
Does anyone know about what time it was in the video that she ran? Because I want to see that. We're at 9 minutes right now. Oh, yeah. Lenny's getting a big cut of everything we do tonight. So $2, is that enough to get you a new light bulb, Lenny?
Well, I mean, with inflation, I'm going to need a little bit more, but we got a good start there. Thanks, buddy.
Maybe combined with everything we've made in the last couple streams, it might be enough.
Maybe.
Alrighty. So does nobody know what timestamp this chick jumped out of the car? She ran in the tour, they didn't find her. Yeah. I was kind of hoping for that. Let's see, I can go back. We're at 9 minutes now. Oh, okay. So he's got her out of the car. He's doing like a quasi felony stop.
Pull your sweatshirt up with your hands.
117, what about her?
Her own. All right. What? Yeah. I tried to stop you in La Crosse County. You were going 100 on 16. Yes, you were. Keep your hands up.
She's just
Ashley
walking
stated
away.
that she didn't feel comfortable, ran off, and fled into the cornfield.
Stay out of the car.
No, get away from me. Get away from me. I do not feel safe. I do not have to stay with you. You are not a Monroe County officer.
I was trying to stop you.
You are not.
Yes, I was. My lights and
Oh.
sirens.
Get away from me. Get away from me. You are not a Monroe County
117 she's taken. Off on me on foot northbound.
All right, that's not what I expected.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not one to judge because I'm not a super sprinter, but boy, I don't know.
Well, maybe, just maybe, before she took off, you should have had your hands on her.
That she didn't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Like right here.
Get away from me. I do not feel safe.
She's going to the car
I do not have to stay with
and she has the door open. That's
Well,
when
and
you
I was
sprint.
trying to stop.
I almost wonder if he was basically giving himself some space if she came out with a gun or something. So
Yeah, I
he could
suppose.
react. 'Cause I think I would maybe pause for a second just to make sure I see what I want to see. If that makes sense.
But I don't think she was giving off like those kind of like danger cues that I would have been.
Well, he gunpoint. I mean, he did a high risk stop though, and I think
Well, he
that was
did,
probably
but-
due to the speed and the eluding and stuff. But I don't know. It's
Ugh.
hard when you're by yourself, I think.
Yeah, it is. Especially with he's in a neighboring jurisdiction now because he chased her for so far. I get it, but like kind of like point of education. When they're in that door jam, grab them. All right, so here we are where he's trying to argue her to get out of the car.
Don't be reaching in your purse. Step out of the vehicle now.
And we forgot to put Brent's chat up. With no comment. Thank you, Brent.
Thanks, buddy. We appreciate it.
All right.
Ow.
Hey, real
Step
quick,
out.
Can we talk about this really quick? This comment.
Yes.
He was surprised that the officer told her to reach down and pull up her shirt so he could see that she didn't have a gun. I'm weirded out by that too, but I'm finding in my studies that is actually kind of a common thing some places. I think it's kind of a recipe for disaster because you're essentially telling them to reach down into their waistband. Me and you I don't know if we'll get into that complete conversation, but I mean, me and you have talked about like high risk stops and how we used to do them. Oh, my mustache is acting up again. How we used to do them as far as do the high risk stop, prune them out on the ground next to the car, move up, arrest them, that kind of thing. Where, you know, the other agencies do this hokey pokey thing and then have them come back to them, which I don't like, but I was never trained that way. So I'm probably not an expert on that, but it is kind of weird and something that I wouldn't call myself an advocate by any means because, you know, I'm just a guy in a basement making a podcast. But I've noted that cops need to be careful giving commands because if they give the command to do something and then somebody does it, I've seen that, right? Where you tell them, hey, you reach into your pocket, they reach into their pocket, the cop freaks out, understandably, and shoots them or whatever. Don't give confusing signals and orders, I guess, would be where I'm getting at with this.
Yeah, I think the train of thought on that is that you've already got them at gunpoint. So if they're pulling up their shirt and they draw something, you've got to jump on them because like the fear is that you're going to walk up on them and you're not going to have your gun out or anything, and they're going to have to jump on you. And action always beats reaction. So it is safer, and like they would have to know that you got to drop on them. So if they were going to try to do something stupid, it would be the last thing that they ever did. I'm trying to think.
Here's what I usually reference with this, and I'm not saying that's a bad tactic. I'm just saying I'm not used to it, and I require elaboration and training on why departments do that because a lot of departments do. So I'm assuming there's something to that. The thing that I usually talk about is the whole let me see your hands is as the first order, which they're going to do what you expect, hopefully, and show the hands. But are you ready to see their hands? I like personally freeze, don't move. Okay, they're listening to what I'm saying. Now we got things calmed down, hopefully. All right, without taking anything out of your pockets, let me see your hands. Kind of slow things down a little bit. I think that first question kind of, all right, maybe they're going to comply with you type of deal because they're following some kind of orders. Because if you tell the guy to freeze and he takes his hand quickly out of his pocket and produces something, I think you're going to be safer, if that makes sense, because you're going to not be expecting him to do that. And so when he does something you tell him not to do, that should raise some alarms.
I think in high pressure, high stress situations, the first couple of commands you give, they rarely follow. And that's something that people need to keep in mind too, that if they're going to comply, they're going to try to comply in their own way. It's not always exactly what you say. Like, when you tell someone to freeze, they don't necessarily freeze, but they're going to, if they're going to comply, they're going to do something compliant, if that makes any sense. So like I always, I might, but like there might be a little bit of shouting initially, but I try to calm it down pretty quickly, and then it's deliberate. And I think as long as you're giving deliberate, clear commands, it doesn't matter necessarily what you say. If it's show me your hands or whatever, because I don't usually say show me your hands. I'll say keep your hands up. And I had one not too long ago. I can't show because it was out of a domestic violence, but dude literally kept putting his hands down to pull his pants up, and and it was a call where we had an undercover officer who got on the air. It was like, hey, I'm supposed to be watching a house over on this street, but right behind me, this dude just pulled a gun on another dude and he's threatening to shoot him. So we get there, we get the guy to put his hands up in the air. He kept dropping his hands. And I mean, we were trained on him. So it wasn't like we were going to drop him just because his hands went down, but it was close,
Yeah. Those are always really hairy situations.
Yeah. But like, and the pull the shirt up just to finish it off. I have had people do that, not necessarily on a felony stop situation. But also he's by himself. So he's trying to do multiple steps at once.
Yeah. No, I get that. I know we missed some of the other super chats, but I don't know what this guy wants us to sing. Do you do requests here? I didn't see that the last couple times.
No, I can't say that I have. We'll see what $20 gets you, bud.
Hey,
or
$20, $20, buddy.
It is.
All right.
And then Donna was the other. Donna says good morning on every single video. So good evening, Donna. It's good to see you. Yeah. So you want to get to the part where he gets her out of the car?
I know. Yeah, we need to do this.
All right.
Come on, really? I'm a little girl. What am I going to do to you?
Hey, step out, Carol.
Well, you might run.
Do you have anything sharp, needles, knives?
No, nothing like that.
Walk towards this spot right.
Am I going to be able to go to treatment tomorrow?
Did you catch
was
that?
Really anticlimactic, and I'm a little disappointed.
Yeah. Did you hear what she said though?
She's going to treatment tomorrow.
Yeah, because that's what they all say. Like, I'm supposed to go to rehab tomorrow. I'm going to go to court tomorrow on that warrant. I'm going to pay that traffic ticket. Here, we'll give it a couple more minutes, see what happens.
Really? Oh my god.
Next time an officer tells you to step out, you do it right away. Before I put pepper spray in your
I felt
face.
threatened by you.
Where's your ID at?
I don't fucking know, man. You already know who the fuck I am.
Who would that be?
Fuck you.
So you're refusing the ID?
You know who I am, don't you?
I'm asking you what's your first name?
Ashley.
Ashley, what's your last name?
Say on the vehicle.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be one of those kind of anticlimactic situations where she fled the night before. they knew that she fled the night before, and they ended up getting her the next day. But that's pretty incredible. She went.
No, go ahead, buddy.
Well, like she was driving 100 miles an hour out into the middle of nowhere, bailed, ran into a cornfield. I'm assuming they towed her car, and they sat up on the cornfield for hours, and then got bored and took off. And somehow she got it back into town, got another vehicle, and is already out driving around again, like 12 hours later. That's pretty good.
Resourceful. Tweakers can be resourceful. I think probably most people that follow your channel understand that anytime somebody's going to jail, there is basically a script. I'm pregnant, I'm injured, I'm this or that. And so sometimes you see these videos where you're like, well, they're telling the cop, that they're pregnant or that they're hurt or they're, whatever's going on. Well, you got to keep in mind that cop has heard that 100 times before.
Or I can't breathe.
Yeah, exactly. And all of those situations, it was total fucking bullshit. So, the whole, cops seem apathetic. It's because people lie to us 24/7. Just saying.
And the rehab one, I think the people that watch understand these things, but I still see the comments on my YouTube videos all the freaking time. They'll be like, "Oh, well, she said that she's going to do this." I'm like, "Yeah, it doesn't mean that she's going to do anything." It cracks me up.
Just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's true, folks.
Yeah.
Or like lawsuits. People will read lawsuits and they're like, well, look at these allegations.
Oh,
they're allegations.
We might even touch on some of that today.
Yeah, we might after a deep discussion we had.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah. And then Ohio Patriot mentioned what's the weather like in Ohio because it keeps dropping $2. Is that inflation like the stripper rate? It used to be $1. You remember? I don't know if it was that way when you were a kid.
I bring $2 bills to the strip club because of inflation. Yeah,
good for you. Yeah, but what was the weather like in Ohio today? We had snow on the ground. I didn't leave the house today. I got up and I started editing body camera footage, and I was going a little bit slow, and that's about it. I got a little workout in tonight in the basement on my bike, and I didn't walk outside once, so I couldn't tell you. What's Iowa weather like right now?
I think it's cold. I don't know. Today and yesterday have been kind of a blur. I don't even know where I'm at or what time it is, but I knew I had to be here for you, so I'm here. I think it's cold though.
It's cold? Yeah, it was.
There's snow on the ground, but it's from a couple days ago.
Yeah, we got a very light dusting last night, which I was still excited to get. It covers up all the trash. Not in my yard, but down where I work. Oh, Anthony. What a nice thing to say, buddy. Thanks for coming.
That's not the piss emoji, by the way. You can do better.
That's all right. He's not going to be able to talk anymore. So, goodbye.
I'll miss you, Anthony.
I won't at all. So I mentioned in the announcement video that we're going to go over the Jonathan Price shooting because you had some differences of opinion with what I said. Did you rewatch my original video?
I did, and I made some poorly made notes.
Okay. Should we watch the actual shooting video again just to refresh everybody?
Yeah, I think there's some points to be made about that whole situation too. I think that's worth watching because I agreed with spoiler alert. I agreed with your take on it for the most part as far as the shooting itself. But some of the other stuff I disagree with, but I think it can be a good discussion on some of these things.
Yeah. I think everyone here should remember this. This is the one, I can't remember. Is it Wolf City, Texas?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it was a new, he wasn't a deputy. He was a city officer. Had been on for like a year and a half. He was 20.
Based on what you said in the video, like a very new cop, 22 years old.
Yeah.
One of like 3 cops in the city kind of thing.
Yeah. And you'll hear the dispatch run, but he was dispatched on a call. The dispatcher said a possible fight. at the gas station, which I looked up a map of this city. I don't think I put it in the video. I can't remember. But there's only one gas station in the town. There's like a gas station and a Family Dollar, and that's it. And that's where he's getting dispatched to.
Oh, they're gunning him out.
What's going on, bro? You going to do good?
Yeah.
Huh?
I go.
You doing good?
Yeah, stand right there. Do you understand me?
What's going on?
Stand right there.
You doing good?
Yeah, you're gonna stand right there, okay? You understand me? Stand right there.
I hope you have a good night tonight. I'm sorry about the broken glass right here.
You did this?
I didn't do this, but he tried to like wrap me up and shit.
Okay, well go ahead and turn around for right now, okay?
I'm not trying.
No, you're not. You're gonna turn around. Is this a guy?
I can't be detained right now.
You're gonna be detained.
I can't be detained right
You're
now.
gonna be detained.
I can't.
You're gonna be detained.
I got
Hey, quit it. You're gonna be detained. You're gonna be detained. Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back now. You're gonna get tased. Do you understand me? Put your hands behind your back. Get back. Get back. Get on the ground now. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Go.
And that's where I killed it. Because I didn't want the actual shooting to go live, so we'd have to get an age restriction on the video. What are your thoughts?
Well, I have lots of thoughts. And I'm going to preface this, and I will probably say this every time we break down anything. We don't always get all the information on all this stuff. And I personally have a hard time shitting on cops. I have a hard time shitting on anybody on any video that's viral anywhere because we just don't know everything that's going on. So that's my little disclaimer. But based on what we know here, I guess the demeanor that this, I'm just going to call him a kid. He's a 22-year-old kid that's a cop. I know there are some people at 21, 22 that are very capable of being police officers. I know that I was not. I would have been a crappy cop at 22. I was very immature. And I think at a young age, you're not very worldly and you don't know how to talk to people very well. Some people have the gift, but some people don't. So I'm immediately kind of put off by the way he's talking to this guy as far as, do you understand me? Do you understand me? We've dealt with drunks. You know, you deal with a drunk guy and, you know, you're calling to him, you talk to him like, hey, man, I just got to talk to you about this thing. It's not a big deal. Kind of de-escalate, right? That's everybody's favorite word. De-escalate the whole thing. Hey, I just want to talk to you for a second, man. Now, there is information. There's a fight. And the thing I was going to mention here is I'm kind of curious based on his initial kind of, he seemed very elevated when he came into contact with this guy. I mean, that's my perception. Was there, do they have a CAD system where, you know, there's notes saying, hey, the guy in the green shirt just assaulted somebody. And so maybe that's why instead of talking him down, because I was surprised that he went to like, hey, I'm going to detain you and put you in handcuffs right away. So I'm curious what he thought he was getting into.
I was under the impression it could be editing, but I was under the impression that you heard the radio being dispatched over his body camera. So it happened in real time.
Yeah. It was like a fight in progress or something, right?
She just said she's like a possible fight when she dispatched it. And then he gets there. There's nobody bleeding or anything. There's some broken glass and a drunk guy walking up to him and saying, hey, I'm sorry about the broken glass, in a very non-threatening, non-assuming manner. That was my take on it. Like, I would not have been threatened by that man at all.
No, and I wouldn't have been either. So I'm just curious. I'm just assuming, which we all know what assumptions do, but I'm just assuming based on the video, based on what we know, you know, and we've talked about this before, like maybe you do something before and it works, and so you keep doing it, even though maybe there's a better way to do it. And so maybe he's had luck talking to people like this, and it, it did not work out for him in this occasion because the guy was drunk and wasn't listening and things like that. I'm just surprised based on the information and when you got there and kind of the tone, no one's fighting, everything's kind of calmed down. And I know he's by himself, but I'm surprised he decided, I'm going to handcuff this guy. I will say that I don't know the culture of Texas law enforcement, right? I only know where I worked, right? So I can only speak to that. So there's a cultural difference too. But was it the worst bit of policing that I've ever seen up until that point where he's kind of talking to the guy trying to detain him? Because I think he had a reasonable reason to detain him, right? A guy got pointed out or whatever. I'm just nitpicking here, but these things can snowball. And I see, Spencer, you brought up the training in the academy. Yeah, well, I'm sure we will get to that at some point. So I guess the second bitch I have about this particular video is, so he goes to the taser, which, all right, he's by himself. He's going to try and detain this guy. The guy's walking away from him saying he can't be detained and all of this stuff. And I get that. All right, you're by yourself. Me personally, not a taser situation. I don't think it is based on where I worked. Where this guy works by himself, maybe it is. I think situations can be dependent.
The other thing, because you harp on this a lot too, is not going in without your cover.
Yes.
And if you do get there without your cover, don't get too deep without your cover.
Yep.
Exactly. Because he was also, when you heard him get dispatched, they dispatched a county car with him as well. Who knows how far away that county car is. And it's one of those situations that as you have some years on you, you might drive a little bit slower to that fight because you know you're going to be there by yourself. And a lot of times these problems solve themselves. You don't want to get into a situation where you're getting thrust into a physical altercation between multiple people. You become involved, your gun becomes in play. Like anytime that you are involved in a dispute with multiple subjects, the gun on your holster becomes a threat.
Yep.
So you don't want to get too deep into that. And that was where, I don't know if I told you on the phone or if I talked to you about it, but the first time I recorded this video, it was 37 minutes long because I had so much to say about all that. And I think I ended up editing it or re-recording it multiple times and got it down to 12 minutes. So there was a lot of that kind of stuff that I didn't get to put in there. But that one of I think the biggest problem with what happened here is that he jumped right in, got himself too deep, and got himself into a situation where he felt that he had to use his taser when he could have slowed everything down and it wouldn't have been there. But also, I don't know, the guy that he's looking at is athletic. He's older and he was like a football coach. And the officer was quite large. He's like 6'3", 6'4", 270. Because you can tell he was towering over Jonathan here. When Jonathan was talking to him, he was looking up at him.
Yeah.
So he definitely had a size advantage on him, and the guy was shit-faced. It's just one of those things where I would have it's just sad. When I watch this video and kind of my perspective on it, it's really sad that this turned into a guy dying that didn't need to die. And there were just so many opportunities to make it go better. When you pull up and you're like, oh my, so you're the one that broke the glass. And he's like, yes. Okay. Listen, I can't hear you with all these people around. Let's walk over by my car. There's so many better ways than just being like, damn right, you're going to be detained. Turn around.
Well, but me and you, and not that this is a long time, but between the two of us, we have, 20 years worth of experience about, right? This guy's got, a year or whatever in a very small town where we both worked in, fairly large areas.
And that's the reason I highlighted the academy comment as well, because you don't learn how to do this stuff in the academy.
No,
it'll be taught to you, but you don't learn it at all. You learn this stuff by repetition, by going out, making mistakes, putting your hands on people, getting in a situation where you've done the wrong thing, and then you're in that same situation again, and you fight like mad to prevent it from happening again.
Well, you learn by failure, but this is a job where there's not a whole lot of wiggle room to fail, is there not? And
no.
I look at this one, and it is sad because it was kind of a needless thing. And we are Monday morning quarterback, to be fair, but we can't learn from these things if we don't talk about these things, and hopefully it helps somebody out in the future. But I would say, to play devil's advocate, obviously the shooting's bad, but to how this kid handled a call it's probably worked for him before, right? He's a big dude. Maybe he hasn't been faced with that before.
Well, and he's in a small,
actually taking off on him.
Yeah, and it's a small town in rural Texas that I imagine they have a lot of respect for their police officers. They probably treat their police officers pretty well, from everyone I've talked to in Texas. And he's not had to deal with this situation before. That could be very likely. That was a good point that you brought up.
I guess, and there's a lot to break down, but as far as the taser thing goes, once you bring the taser into it, then, we talk about, you have your gun's always there, right? You have to worry about your gun. There's always a gun every single call. Now you have the taser, and, we could talk about the Grand Rapids thing, right? Where the guy had the taser, the cop ended up getting charged, or you could look at the Atlanta thing where the guy is firing the taser at the cops. This isn't that, right? He fires the taser at the guy, it fails. I don't think he expected it to fail, which if you use the taser, I just expect it to fail.
Did you catch the I think it was only a single probe hit. Let's watch this again.
You're going to be detained. Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back now. You're going to get tased. Do you understand me? Put your hands behind your back.
Yeah, it popped. There's one right here in his arm, and I don't know where the other one went, but he didn't get 2 probes.
No, so it wasn't a good contact. The guy reacted to it, but
because it hurt.
Yeah, it does fucking hurt. I've been tased before. I don't like it.
Yeah.
But so you don't have the good connection, so he's not getting the current. And the guy turns towards him and kind of like slaps at the taser. That's not a situation where you shoot somebody. It's just not. Like, and here's the thing is we're watching this in slow motion back. I mean, maybe this kid perceived like, oh shit, this dude's going for my taser. When we watch it back and we're like, that's not what happened.
Yeah, well,
into that.
There's also, I realize he's really new and he's never probably done this before, but when you have a good hit on taser and when you don't have a good hit on the taser, and you're trained to swap out those cartridges quickly.
Yeah.
He's got another one right here. You can pop that other that cartridge in as soon as it's a fail. I mean, we train like this. We train like mad with this. Did you guys do that? We have like a mat room, and we go in the mat room and we stand facing each other with dummy cartridges in, shoot it, and then they'll say, cartridge fail, swap out cartridge. We're like, boom, boom. We'll do it where we're kind of running at each other, where someone has a knife running at you, whatever. Well, no, that's a transition drill, but you get the point. Like,
look at this one.
Oh yeah, this is the guy that lives really near where I work. He wasn't on the last stream, but he's here today. Here's the thing about this particular one. It was a lawful reason to detain the guy. That's lawful all day long. It's just he went about it the wrong way. That's kind of the point that we're making. The other thing is, for those of you that didn't watch the video, this officer was acquitted of murder. He spent 2 years in jail awaiting trial and then was acquitted murder. I don't know how that happens.
Well, and Mr. Bobcat 34, respectfully, I hear what you're saying, right? As a former agent of the government, I too hate the government, but who decides if something's unlawful, right? Everyone and their mom's going to say, well, this is unlawful, so that's why I fought with the cops. There's several states that have laws that say, hey, look, no, you don't get to make that determination. it's a very slippery slope. So if you basically say everyone on the planet says my arrest is unlawful, then the cops can't make an arrest.
Yeah.
So this was completely lawful. I mean, he had plenty of reasonable suspicion to detain this dude.
Plus, you know, every encounter with a police officer is a potential deadly encounter. You don't want to raise it to that level. You don't want to put your life on the line to avoid spending a night in jail on a misdemeanor offense, like what he did. You know, and if you're unlawfully arrested on something bullshit, you're going to get paid. So
yeah,
take
you
it.
know, that's the thing I say too all the time is, yeah, if you know the government messes up and they unlawfully detain you or whatever, you're going to get paid. You know, and I'm kind of convinced that people feel like they got to put on the show in order for that to happen, which I just don't think that's true, you know. But what do I know?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people push it because they know that officers right now are kind of afraid to use force.
Yeah.
So they'll push the limit.
Yeah.
But the other thing about the filled cartridge that really annoyed me was he kept holding it and screaming at him. He's like, get on the ground, get on the ground, get on the fucking ground. It's like, dude, you had a bad hit. He's not going to go down. He's already demonstrated you that he's not going to go down. I think that the officer just went black. You know, he absolutely freaked out.
Yep.
And that's why the next couple things happened. Yeah.
You were 100% right, buddy.
And that's the thing that I always tell people is because on the video I released recently about the child custody dispute where the black woman was using the racial slurs, everyone's like, you know, you should have done this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, the officer has to follow the law. You don't want officers that aren't out there following the law. You also don't want officers making up the law. There's a reason that we have elections, and I'm sorry, but they're sworn to uphold the laws of the land, and it's not my job. I'm not qualified. Let's put it that way. I'm not qualified.
I've never gotten the argument, well, you know, you cops are out here and you're making these unlawful arrests. You hate the cops, but you want the cops to decide what's legal and what's not. That's why we have the courts. I know it's not a perfect system, but you don't want rogue cops, but on the other hand, you want rogue cops.
Yeah.
Help me.
I mean, it's just silly. Here, we can go on that topic for all night.
Yeah.
So I'm going to play that kind of towards the end of this again.
Hey, that was uncalled for, bro. Get back. Get back. Get back. Get on the ground. Now. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Get on.
Oh, God damn it. I hate when it does that. I wish I would pause at the end.
But see, so the guy is not getting on the ground and he starts coming towards him.
Yeah.
Can I tell a story?
Sure.
This is kind of funny. It's kind of embarrassing, but prior to going into law enforcement, I worked a management job, and an opportunity to go to a citizens academy was presented, and I thought, you know, this might be a good thing just to see if maybe I do want to be a cop. Maybe this might be a good thing for me. Now, I didn't really understand what the Citizens Academy was. Turns out I spent a nice couple nights with some older gals, some very nice older gals that made some really good cookies, right? But they, I remember, and I was young when I went through this, and there was the simulator, right, where the shoot, don't shoot thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to like arrest some guy, and he comes at me, and his fists are balled, and he starts hitting me. I shot him. And the cop goes, you can't shoot him for that. You can't just shoot him because he balled his fist and is coming at you. Now, there's a time and place, right? But look at all these. I hope everybody's seen the video where I think you'll know what I'm referencing. We should play that someday on here.
The Black Lives Matter people failing the use of force. Yeah.
And they're smoking everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's one of those things that, again, I was probably 22 when I went through the Citizens Academy. This could have been me, right? So depending on your training and your experience, this guy turns around on you when you try to tase him, and your perception might be, oh shit, this dude's going to kick my ass, or this dude's going to take my taser, and then it turns into a shooting. You know, because I can guarantee you this guy's perception is different than our perception, right?
Yeah, it's happening. And that's the thing. Spencer brought it up earlier about, you know, it's frustrating watching these videos in slow motion, pausing it, whatever. You have to keep in mind that when we're trained, when we watch these, we see it a lot slower than you do. And when we're in these situations, it's a lot slower for us than it is for you as well. A new officer, though, it's going by so fast that he doesn't know what's happening. Kind of like, you know, you hear the transition from like college football to the pros. Everything happens so much faster. You get these like all-star quarterbacks in college that get to the pros and they're freaking lost. They don't know what's going on. Being a police officer is very similar. It takes, depending on how busy it is where you work, I think we're both in agreement. It takes on average 5 years before you're a legitimate, competent police officer. And you cannot get that training in an academy setting or anywhere else other than the street. There's some training that's exceptional, but the most exceptional training does not compare to what you get on the street. So I don't know.
I wanted to address this comment. I know what he's trying to say, but I don't look at this as the same light as some of these other ones. Like, I'll tell you right now, the Grand Rapids thing, I don't think that officer should be charged.
No.
Based on what I've seen. This to me is a different scenario. Now, to me, and again, this is my perception, right? The guy got tased, he's stumbling around, he's drunk. I mean, I think it's very apparent to anybody watching the video, the guy is inebriated. He's stumbling around and he kind of like swats at the taser kind of thing. I don't think you're to deadly force at that point, right?
No, I think the guy was so drunk he didn't actually know what was going on. To, you know, not to that extent. He was just like, "Come on, man!" Like, he might have even been playing. He thought the officer was playing. He's like, "Come on, man! Like, knock that off!" Like, no.
Well, I wouldn't go there, but
I mean, higher than that. But
I would say though, I'm just going to assume, and I don't know this kid in Texas. I'm going to assume his thought process was, "Holy shit, this dude's going for my taser. I have to shoot him." And I think cops, and maybe this is a little controversial, but I think cops will say shit like, "Oh, if he does this or that, I'm just going to shoot him." Think about how you train your mind. If that's what you tell yourself in your mind, then that's what's going to happen. That's how you're going to react to that. Maybe there is a situation where you do, you know, shoot him to defend yourself, but all these situations are fluid. And if law enforcement if you're looking at things black and white, you know, you have to know it's gray, right? Let's say he goes to tase the dude and he turns around and it's like this big fight. I still don't know that you're quite to the point of deadly force, because we fight people into custody all the time. Just because someone's fighting with you doesn't mean it's deadly force. Now, there's always an argument, well, you know, if he hits you hard enough and he knocks you out, then you could take your gun or he could kill you going to the ground. I get that. I totally get that. But it has to be reasonable, right? What is going on? And I'll use this again on my pedestal again. This is yet another reason why officers should be going to these types of calls with two guys all the time, all the time. But they're, you know, and this is what I wanted to talk to you about, and let me know if you're okay to transition over to it. But you made some comments about like staffing and rural departments and stuff. And that was the thing I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
So here's what I think. Because you said some stuff and I thought about it, and you made a statement: if a department can't have 50 guys, then, you know, the sheriff's office or the state police should take over. Now, I know you're saying this in a perfect world type situation, so it's not really fair for me to debate you on a fantasy land type situation. But I guess what I would say to stuff like that is, I live in a rural area now. I've come across some guys. They appear to be very squared away. Like, I think yeah, are there some like Mayberry type cops out there? Yes, there are for sure. But I'm telling you, man, I worked in a big city, and there's plenty of dudes in big cities that are in big city departments that I would much rather not have on my call. It's I don't want to shit on rural cops everywhere. And honestly, most of these smaller departments, like I think most of the sheriff's departments are, 10-man departments if they're a larger department in some of these small areas. And I think the smaller jurisdictions have a right to be policed the way they want to be policed, because I think, if policing is different in a small town, you don't need a big city trooper in a small town, right? Like, and you're going to get people going out to these places that don't want to be there anyway, kind of thing. I think there's people in these communities. Like, I'll give a perfect example is me. Like, you made the case about anybody worth a shit, and I'm paraphrasing, and maybe I'm tired, but you made the case that anybody that is really squared away, they're going to kind of follow the money and go to these big cities. I disagree with that. I think there's people like me that don't want to be in the big cities no more, and it's not worth the money, and they'd much rather serve a community that wants to be served, kind of thing. Now, is that going away a little bit with this economy, and even, in a rural America and the greatest recovery of all time, things are getting really expensive for people. But I don't know. I think there's some good small town cops, a lot of good small town cops, and I think there's also some bad in the small towns.
Yeah,
but there's also bad in the big cities.
I think you misinterpreted my point a little bit.
That is possible.
Because I'm talking about the departments and not the officers. I grew up in a small town, and I don't know how many officers were on the department then, but I think now there's 30, 35 like total sworn, including the chief. There was a couple of officers on that department that were badasses. They're fucking legends. 100%, and I don't know enough of the rest of them to be able to give you an opinion, but it's also, they're up in an area where there is no other big department near them. And it's different. It is different. But what I was referencing is that people are throwing out quote unquote reform ideas. They're throwing out some bullshit and they're calling it reform. And they're saying, oh, we need to do this to reform the police to make the police better. And 99% of the shit that they're throwing out there isn't going to make the police any better whatsoever. It's not going to have an effect on the police whatsoever. What I was trying to do is say, look, if you want to make police departments better, this is one area where it would perhaps allow for these guys to, just due to economies of scale, have the opportunity to get better training. And that was kind of where I was going with that.
No, and I hear you. I mean, I would tell you, like, the guys out here probably aren't getting the same reps on calls that we are. That's a thing for sure. But on the other hand, I'm just going to say it. A lot of people that live in big cities are trash, and a lot of the people that live in the country are, they're decent folks, and so you don't have the same type of issues all the time, so it's different.
The bad officers,
podcast, by the way.
What's that?
The cat joined for a minute there.
Oh, nice. The bad officers on larger departments are diluted as well. If you only have, it's like you got a jar of M&Ms and one of them is poisonous, or you're willing to eat an M&M out of that jar. Well,
I'm fat, so yes.
Yeah, I am too. If you have 5 M&Ms and one of them is poisonous, are you going to eat one of those M&Ms? I'm not. And I think
you eat small town people, don't you?
No, I'm a small town person. You know what I mean?
What did they do to you?
They raised me. I can't laugh right now. I'll start coughing again. Let's see. This is interesting. Whoops. What's happening?
Hold on. Oh, we got to talk about my dog too. That's more important than this body camera video.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that here in a sec.
Yeah.
What's funny, dude, is I was like anti-police for a long time for no good reason. I just hated cops. I grew up in a small town, and I had the perception that the only thing police officers did was write speeding tickets and bullshit stuff like that, because that was my experience with the police. It pissed me off. I was annoyed with them. And then moving down to where I live now, talking to police officers, finding out that that is in fact not what the majority of police are doing all the time. Changed my mind on that. And now that I work in the world, I realize how much more complicated it is than I ever could have imagined back in the day, and how smart you actually have to be a good police officer. So I have a much deeper appreciation than I ever did before. Oh, and another funny thing, just kind of to piggyback on the small town thing in my hometown, I used to go comment on my hometown police department's Facebook page, and I got into an argument with a police wife one time because she said something about writing tickets. And at the time, I was an officer for like 7-8 years. I was like, hey, I've been an officer for 7 or 8 years. I've never once written a speeding ticket. You should have seen the hate that was thrown at me. Like, you're not a real police officer, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, I promise you. Were you radar trained? Did you write tickets?
No, I didn't write speeding tickets.
Yeah. Most big city cops don't.
No. Well, and here's the thing, though. The problems are different, right? Maybe, these smaller towns, they don't have the plethora of crime. And so, to them, speeding is important, right? You get these evil doers speeding through the neighborhood. So
there's also the idea that these guys are cops, they're earning a wage, and they want to earn their wage. There's no drug dealers to shut down, murderers to track down, no domestic violence calls holding. So they're going to go out and run traffic because that's what they're getting paid to do. Where I work, we don't have time to do that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to say they're not real cops for doing that. But if that was what my job was, I wouldn't be a police officer. I'll just tell you that.
I agree with Brent here, by the way. I was born in a small town, blah, blah, blah. Small
That's
town.
Funny. So how's your dog? Jeff asked about it, I think.
The doggo is good. I think she's going to be okay. I mentioned on the live stream last week that my wife texted me it was like glass or something. Turns out she didn't know. She just assumed it was glass, which I thought that was a weird direction to go with it. So as I was like, well, if the dog ate glass, it's going to go through her intestine. And I think I discovered what happened. I think she's been eating a thorn bush because she's an idiot. And she cut her mouth and she bled all over for a couple days, but now she's fine. So thanks for your concern, though. I appreciate it.
Fantastic.
I think this is worth addressing, that there are far more criminals than cops. And he clarified to say bad cops. Yeah, no, we totally agree with that. I'm just, whenever there is like a quote unquote bad cop, it's definitely magnified, right? Because it's such a big deal. I mean, like, who knows? This, I forget the guy's name, Officer Lucas, the kid I've been referring him to. Maybe up until this point, he was a stellar cop, never ran into any problems, right? I would think
he
maybe
could
not.
have been
I don't know.
He could have been a great guy.
He could have been a great guy and like royally fucked up this call. Yeah. But it is, I mean, when there are like the quote unquote bad cops, I think good people make big, huge mistakes constantly. That doesn't mean that, you have to be, sorry, I can talk, I promise. That doesn't mean that you can't be held accountable, because it is kind of is what it is, especially when somebody gets hurt or killed. But I don't know. It's not everybody's a bad cop or whatever.
No, but also I think it's also important when we see a bad shoot that we come out and talk about why we thought it was a bad shoot as well.
Agreed. Yeah. And I would guarantee I would say if we put a poll with cops up, I would think, based on what we saw in that video, I think there'd be a percentage of cops that would say no, it was fine because the guy reached for his taser.
There was a jury that thought it was fine.
Yeah. So I mean, I would say most cops would be like, yeah, I don't think I would have done that. It'd be really interesting to see how that was charged. You brought up the manslaughter thing. I mean, if they charged him murder one, which I don't know Texas, right? I don't know what their statutes say, but most states, you got like the different levels of murder. If they charged him with murder, one and it didn't fit the statute because it wasn't premeditated, then they can't convict him, you know? Where manslaughter would make a lot more sense.
Yeah, I think that the prosecution fucked up. But there is something to the fact that he was arrested and remained in jail for 2 years. They thought their case was so strong that maybe that's the thing. They just got overly confident, thought their case was too strong. They should have included the lesser included offenses and given the jury instructions. I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm not going to try to pull a court tapes. It is what it is. It was just one of those things.
And you're in 556 media. You're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. I would just my perception looking at that video. I don't think that was like an intentional thing. Like, I'm going to off this dude. I think he panicked.
Yeah. But I'm all about, it's the hardest job in the world. One of the hardest jobs in the world. It's mistakes are amplified in this job. And I say it every time. Sometimes you make a mistake and you're the one that dies. Sometimes you make a mistake, somebody else dies. A mistake is just a mistake. But I also think that sometimes the mistake is so egregious that there needs to be consequences. And on that one, I can't justify anything other than criminal charges. Yeah. And that was the point I was trying to make. I don't know that I did well. I ramble sometimes. I need someone to talk to when I'm doing these things.
That's why I'm here, buddy.
Well, thank you for your service.
I didn't do it. Well, I did do it for you, actually.
You do it every day for me.
That's right.
It's starting to hit me. I took cough syrup and Dayquil and a decongestant, and I'm still starting to choke over here.
Well, get that. Is that some makers I see back there?
No, this is Old Forester 1920. Here,
I forgot you're bougie with your booze.
Yeah, but I can drink this. You know why?
Why?
Because it's medicinal.
Okay.
During Prohibition, this was sold as medicine. So,
well, there you go.
I'm allowed to have this, and it's going to make me feel better.
It's weird looking at my camera trying to show the beer because it's like opposite. There you go. This is a man's beer right here. Yeah, I had a long day, to say the least, and I would try to take a nap before we came on, so I could talk a little bit. And I told my kids when they got home from school, let me sleep, and when mom gets here, you can bother her with all your problems. As soon as mom got home, hey, mom's home. Can I have a soda? All right, I guess I'm on.
Hey, I want to introduce some people to you because you might not be so familiar, but 556 Media, or 223 as I like to call him, he's a retired police officer. William Moreland, I'm pretty sure you are, right? Let me know. Let me know. Those are the ones I recognize right off the bat. Unless he's somebody else. I don't know if you're a cop now or not. But there's always cops here. Be advised, because they usually drop some good comments.
I mean, I'm sure a lot of them are a lot smarter than me, so you should probably hire somebody that's more knowledgeable than me. I make memes, buddy. You need to shoot for the stars here.
No, I can't have anyone that will outshine me.
All right, I know. I see what this is all about. I'm okay with it, I guess. If that's my social pegging.
We're gonna go with that today.
I'm good with it.
Oh,
you want to watch this train wreck?
I do. Let's fill the people in. So this video, I don't know how I found this video. I think it was just in my feed. It's out of the city of Chicago from last August. And this officer was criminally charged, right? With felony, it says in the top, felony charges for use of taser. I don't know. Should we just go into the video?
Let's watch the video. Yeah,
all right.
We'll break it down.
It's from a YouTube channel called Rebel HQ, which I don't think it's a channel that really likes police officers. And that's something that'll be obvious here in a moment.
I'm going to tase you. Last warning. I do not. One last warning.
In Chicago, that innocent man in front of his home was complying. He suffered a broken nose and lost consciousness. Now, a year later, police officer Marco Simonetti has been charged with felony aggravated battery and felony official misconduct. In August 2021, Officer Simonetti responded to a call on Chicago's Northwest Side about a suspicious person pulling on gates.
You know, I'm going to say briefly that I watched this clip on a couple of news stations as well, because I was thinking about pulling one of them up instead. And you get to hear more of the dude with the Jesus looking dude talking.
I ain't doing nothing to your account. What do you do? Huh? What'd you leave your jacket over? Huh? That's my jacket. You want to look at it?
Simonetti began to question this 26-year-old neighbor.
You live there? Yeah. You got an ID or a key? Nah, I ain't got a key on it. All right, if you're lying, you can live there. I'm going to lock you up. No, I'm going to lock you up. For lying to me. For lying to me, I ain't lied to you.
After the man emptied his pockets, Officer Simonetti grabbed the man's wrist.
Why are you arresting me? Why are you arresting me?
The neighbor tried to run away, and Officer Simonetti pulled out a taser as the man had his hands up.
Down on the ground right now. I ain't doing nothing. I ain't still not. Look at. Give me one more car over here. Get on the ground. I'm going to tase you. Last warning.
Let's pause it here. What do you think's going on so far?
Well, I love the lawyer voice. It reminds me of like the every city's got their car accident guy. Like, are you getting screwed by your insurance company? Well, call me and I'm going to make it right. That I get that feel, and like this innocent man. Now, I could be wrong, but when I first watched this video, my first thought was, this guy's acting fucking weird, right? He's not acting like he lives in the neighborhood. Here's my disclaimer again. I think a lot of this is cut out, so you don't see a ton of the interaction going on. So I'd be curious of what more of that interaction was like. But based on what we see here, the dude's acting weird and then he takes off. So as a police officer, you get a call about a suspicious guy, maybe a burglar.
Yeah, because he was trying.
Weird,
he was pulling on people's gates.
Yeah, that is what reasonable suspicion is. And this could get me on my whole tangent on we need to educate the public. We shouldn't do TikToks, right? We're going to do some TikToks to make grandma happy about the dancing cops. Maybe we could use our platforms to, I don't know, educate the public about, hey, if a cop talks to you about this, this is why they're talking to you. And this is the legal precedent that they can talk to you. But what do I know? Anyway, yeah, those are my thoughts so far.
Yeah, and I thought it was funny because the narrator is saying, this innocent man who was doing nothing wrong in his own front yard. Well, no, the officer was called because the neighbors thought this guy was suspicious. So if your own neighbors don't recognize you and you're doing something suspicious in your neighborhood and they call the police, that's kind of on you. Then the officer shows up, starts talking to him. The guy's not making any sense. Like, if I'm in front of my house, I'm going to tell you, yeah, that's my house. Here's the house numbers. And if I don't have a key, I'll be like, well, I just walked outside to get my mail. I don't have my key on me. It's right inside. Like, run the tags. There's a lot of very common sense things that you can say. Provide all your information. Like, hey, go ahead and run me. My name comes back to this house. The guy was acting like he was either hiding something, because like we come across people all the time that are breaking into cars, breaking into houses. They're in yards, and you're like, hey, what are you doing? Like the guy that I arrested in my own yard. I was just going to harass my dope dealing neighbor's friends. And I was like, what house are you coming from? And he pointed at my house, because everything he said before that was somewhat logical. This guy's just not making any sense. So the officer goes to detain him. Now, was it a half-assed attempt at detaining somebody? Yeah. But people, if you're by yourself, somebody can pull away. It is what it is. And then you're in this situation where you tell the guy to get on the ground. He initially looks like he's going to, and then he stands back up. And then he looks like he's going to, and you don't know what he's going to do. I think it says later.
When he got back up the first time, I thought that would have been like, all right, maybe you tase him there, like you tell him to get on the ground and then he comes up. And again, I don't like tasers. I do not like tasers. I mean, it can be safer for cops because, if you close that gap and he pulls a gun, you're too busy closing the gap kind of thing. And so that can be dangerous for cops. So I'm not going to say tasers don't work all the time. They don't have their purpose in law enforcement, but I see them as being a crutch sometimes.
No, absolutely. And the other part, like when he goes down and gets back up, the guy that I arrested in my yard, I've told you that story on the podcast, right? And my viewers have all seen the video. But when I determined that he had done something wrong, I ordered him to the ground. He complied. I got out my phone. I called 911. I was like, you guys need to send me some cars. There's something wrong. He actually allowed me to put my phone back in my pocket. And when I reached back for my cuffs that were on the ground behind me, that's when he chose to get up and run. So people get down, get up, do all kinds of things. It doesn't make them compliant. They can feign compliance, which I'm assuming that's what this officer was thinking. And the narrator is making it sound like this guy is just such an innocent, harmless human being that there's no reason the cops should be suspicious. No, he has 1,000 reasons to be suspicious.
Yep.
Hey, I can't pronounce your name, Fasher. I didn't do it for you, bub. So, and then it gets ugly from here. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
I do not. One last warning.
The taser struck the man on the forehead and the arm. On the ground, he started convulsing. Prosecutors say he lost consciousness, broke his nose, and required stitches.
Quite out of taser.
While the body camera video captured Officer Simonetti radioing that he had to use the taser, in a later police report, Simonetti said he unintentionally deployed the taser. Simonetti works as a field training officer and has been with the Chicago police for 28 years. Criminal charges are not Simonetti's only problem. Chicago police leadership say they are in the process of taking away his job. The first step is known as relief of powers.
We're in process of relief of powers.
Jesus. I'm glad I don't work in Chicago.
Why? I think it's an awesome hat, by the way. We know I like hats.
But it's not an 8-point.
Well, it's close enough. You know, I was gonna say that we were talking about this kid, right? 2 years on the job, and you know how he fucked up that call and somebody paid with their life. Now we got a guy that's 28 years on the job, FTO, been there a long time. I think it's one of those things that things work sometimes and sometimes they don't, and things spiral and get out of control. And I guess it's like one of those things, I guess, to catch myself a little bit is, I notoriously kind of poo-poo on the new guys, but this wasn't a stellar police work. I think we can agree. 28 years on in a big city.
It's 28 years in a big city. He's got a lot of experience.
Polar
opposite. This happened in 2021. In an environment where a lot of officers were hands off, like not out there trying to grab onto people. And I don't know but I think as a taser situation, it was still fine. Maybe not the way the guy was positioned when he tased him, but
I don't know.
I don't have a problem with an officer using a taser to try to detain someone in that situation. The guy had already pulled away from him. There were danger cues.
Yeah, no, I agree. But hold on a second. If we're saying there's danger cues there, then I think there's danger cues in the other thing too. The guy's taking off from you saying, I can't be detained, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but I think that they were more prevalent in this one because the officer's approach was calmer.
Okay, I'll give you that. I'll concede that.
Because the first officer, I think, escalated the situation. This one, I think that the suspect escalated the situation. At least with the information that we saw.
No, yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think there's some parallels. They're definitely different calls, but yeah. I think there are some similarities. But I'm just going to tell you from how I would have operated on that. I wouldn't have used a taser on that. Me personally, but that's just me. I'm not saying he couldn't, but I think the point of where he was tasered was an issue.
But I think as far as policy goes, at least where I work, the tasing would have been all right. Officer, subject, age, and different things combined. An older officer with a younger suspect, I can justify using the taser in that situation to subdue him. Now, the fact that the taser probe hit him in the forehead, and then he fell to the ground.
All right, hold on. Let's go back. I'm not the taser probe is not an exact thing like a gun, right? You have to deal with air and wind and distance and things like that. It's not moving at the same speed as a bullet. Based on what I watched here, I don't think I would have tased him at this point. I think, like I said, like when he was going down and immediately got up, I think that would have been okay
the time.
to tase.
Yeah.
Perfect would have been the time.
The other reason that I paused it where I did, I let him get through. The guy making the video made a big deal out of how the officer grabs his mic and said, I had to use my taser. And then in his report, he said that the taser accidentally went off. He made it sound like the officer was perjuring himself. I don't feel that way. Like sometimes you just grab your radio and you say what you think needs to be said over the air. You're not thinking in that moment.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, like it's perception's reality sometimes too, and I think we have to realize that. But in one of these things, they're gonna pick apart everything, right? Everything they're gonna pick apart. So it's one of those things that looks bad. Again, like what I was saying with the kid in Texas is I don't think his perception on it was different than ours, right? And I think the same thing here is he's like, oh shit, I tased this guy. Hey, I had to tase him because you're trying to get a supervisor over or whatever. That I don't think that's necessarily like a perjure type thing, but
yeah, because you're not going to get on the air and say I accidentally tased somebody.
No, yeah, I agree. I mean, in a perfect world, you would say taser deployment or whatever, and then explain it. But I mean, you're also you're responsible for having your booger hook on the trigger too.
Yeah,
same as a gun. But maybe I watched this wrong and perceived how it happened. And again, we're doing the unfair thing of watching it back where this guy didn't have the opportunity. But
the thing, if he says he accidentally deployed it, it looks accidental to me. But I still don't. Aside from the fact that if this guy got tased and was never injured, this would have been completely within policy.
Last warning. One last warning.
Oh.
The taser struck
See what
the
I'm
man.
talking about? The guy has his hand down, and it looks like he's probably. But again, he did the up thing before that.
Yeah. Here, I think this is.
A little bit further.
Get on the ground right now.
And then he sit back up. Yeah.
Get on the ground. I'm going to tase you.
So.
One last warning.
See what I'm talking about?
It's a bad. Yeah, he should have tased him the moment the guy stood back up.
Yeah. I think then you don't have any question about it. Again, we're Monday morning quarterbacking the shit out of this, but I just hope that it's helpful to somebody down the road to help them kind of think through these things.
And honestly, I think the reason that he's being charged is because they're Monday morning the shit out of it. Sure, he had a good use of force when the guy went to the ground and then stood back up. And I think you can easily argue, well, he put his hands on the ground, but I believed he was going to stand right back up again. So I popped him. But he's saying that the taser accidentally went off. I don't know how that plays out in a criminal proceeding, but I mean, he was charged with like misconduct, right?
The taser struck the man on the forehead and the arm. On the ground, he started convulsing. Prosecutors say he lost consciousness, broke his nose, and required stitches.
Quite out of taser.
While the body camera video captured Officer Simonetti radioing that he had to use the taser, in a later police report, Simonetti said he unintentionally deployed the taser. Simonetti works as a field training officer and has been with the Chicago police for 28 years. Criminal charges are not Simonetti's only problem. Chicago police leadership say they are in the process of taking away his job. The first step is known as relief of powers.
We're in process of relief.
I thought he said the charges, but it was like,
I think he does. I think he does later on. In the
okay,
video.
I'm not going to play any more of it though. But you know, it's one of those things too where if you have a good, I guess it's a good argument or a good discussion to have, is that early in the interaction you have a good opportunity to use a taser that would have been 100% fine in your opinion and mine. Like, we agree that the moment he stood back up, you could have used your taser. Does that mean that window closes? Or if you could have done it then, can you still do it a couple of moments later? Does it make it bad?
I would say no. I think the situation changes. It changes as it changes, and you have to be reactive and receptive to it. Now, you know, maybe he had in his brain, like, all right, if this dude does one more silly thing, I'm going to tase him.
Yeah.
And then he did, you know, based on maybe something he perceived. And remember, you know, we process things slower than we see them, right? There's a time frame on all of this stuff. People think it's like, you know, what we're seeing is maybe not what he saw. You know what I mean? Like, perception is a fucking thing. But to me, again, I'm speaking from my own experience. I wouldn't have tased the dude. I wasn't big on the taser. I don't like the taser. I think the use of force would have been good as he got up. Like, all right, this dude, I think, is a burglar. He, you know, he took off from me as I tried to detain him. You know, I gave him orders. He complied, but then he got right back up. I was by myself. I think you can articulate that. But then, you know, as he's in the process of going back down, and we talked about people do goofy shit. And I'm not saying this guy was a good dude, because we don't know who this guy is too, the suspect. But if somebody's not used to being in police interactions, it's weird. It's goofy. I mean, remember the first time that you were in handcuffing and you were being handcuffed and you're trying to be a good partner. Sometimes you don't know exactly what to do, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, if this guy's never had police contact, and I'm just going to make the assumption that, dude, Jesus is baked, right? That's kind of what I got.
There's something wrong. He might be high, it might be mental health. It's hard to tell.
Yeah. So there's all of these different factors going on. And I think that my opinion is just because your use of force was good at one point doesn't mean that you can continue on your path if somebody changes what they're doing, if that's fair.
No, it is. Because I mean, it's like if somebody had a gun but they dropped it, you can't just shoot them.
Yeah.
But I don't have a problem with using a taser still. I don't. It's just the guy got injured and it was unfortunate. But the totality of I can't say that word right now. But the entire situation, I think that you could use a taser. It's just very unfortunate the guy got injured in the way he did. And it was also very unfortunate that one of the probes hit his head. I think that that's one of those things that it's part of it.
I
It's
think
an
the
accident.
ground was the bigger problem, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, he broke his nose. He didn't break his neck, but he was convulsing afterwards. That was nasty. I mean, it sucks, but I, and if you want to discipline the officer, I think that's fine, but I don't think that every bad use of force doesn't need to lead to criminal charges. And for some reason, we're in this world where we think that has to happen. What you're going to have is the public is going to be all excited that we're charging police officers. And then you're going to see not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, not guilty. And it's just going to piss people off even more.
Yeah. And I think sometimes we have to look at what is the long-term effect of this going to be, right? I was a cop for 8.5 years. I didn't get into trouble, right? I wasn't one of these guys that's getting in trouble and, you know, trying to break the rules and all this shit. You know, everybody makes mistakes. I did some little dumb things like, you know, Here's my big boo-boo is I left some evidence on a car and I was trying to get out of somewhere in a hurry because a crowd was forming and I lost the dude's wallet. So we took care of it and, I got in trouble for that, right? A mistake, right? People fuck up, but it was my mistake. I owned it. I didn't lie about it or make an excuse. Like, I said, hey, look, this was the reason that we left in a hurry, but that's on me. I should have grabbed the dude's wallet. By the way, kids, you're dumping people's pockets. Don't put shit on the roof. Just saying.
We were having that discussion with one of our probationary officers just the other day.
Yeah, don't do it. Just don't do it. Learn from
I forget what they lost. Oh, it was a pair of handcuffs. Some reason they swapped out cuffs and they put one cuff on the roof and then they drove off. The cuffs got run over. A homeless guy picked up the cuffs and turned him into an officer, but the cuffs are not operational anymore.
Yeah, I've lost my train of thought about. I'm upset about my
just
way.
About making mistakes on the job and getting disciplined for it.
So, I'm just going to use me as an example, and it's weird to talk about myself, but I wasn't a guy that was getting into trouble for stuff, and I tried very hard to stay within the lines because that's your damn job is to stay within the lines as a cop. And when it gets to a point where the lines are blurry and you don't understand, or I'm not perfect, I'm not a perfect person. I could have made a mistake just like this guy and, perceive something different or, made a bad judgment call. I'm going to go to jail for a bad judgment call. Or even if you don't go to jail, you have to deal with that whole process. Mm-hmm. You're on the job. You might not have a paycheck. You might not be certified anymore. And people want cops to be perfect. And I'm telling you, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. We need to strive to be better and be as perfect as we can be. But mistakes will always happen. Is it a mistake of the heart or the mind? Or is it intentional? Yeah. And so now you have this environment where everybody's so damn afraid to do their job. Why do you think crime's out of control? Yeah, you have the bail stuff as a problem too, but cops are not being proactive and they're letting things go because they don't want to run the risk of their own livelihood. I think that the public may have understood before, and people could debate if the leeway went too far, but may have understood, that might happen, right? There's a give and take with all this stuff, but all right, you got your police reform. You have the police in check. That's your perception. The police are in check, but what else is going on around you?
Sorry, I went down to here. Well, the one thing that I was thinking about when you were saying that was about proactive work not happening. The dope boys are supplying their dope houses without fear of an officer looking for them. People don't realize how much crime is happening because officers are afraid that if they make contact with that guy and it goes wrong, that they're going to be in prison. Why not just let this happen? That's literally happening in this world.
Yep, it is. And 556, you're exactly right. And we see that. I mean, I don't like using the example of a DUI as a mistake. I think I hate that shit. You're drunk, don't drive, asshole. But good people make mistakes, right? I think there's good people in jail because they made a mistake. Depending on what it is, we set up the system where, if you make a mistake and it could harm somebody or it did harm somebody, you have to pay your debt to society. We don't do that anymore though. But if you're a cop, oh yeah, we're going to do that.
Yeah. Well, and the other side of it too is officers are often criticized for drawing guns on people and grabbing onto people when that person was doing nothing wrong, this, that, and the other thing. I'm going to transition. We didn't talk about covering this, but you know what this video is, right? You saw it.
Oh yeah.
This guy was very unassuming. I want to play this.
Is it going to get you age restricted?
Hey, what's going on, man? Did you hear any gunshots or anything like that? No? You care to take your hand out of your pocket for me?
So just up to this point, the officers are responding to a call about gunshots. They were already in this area because they responded to a call about gunshots. This is Wedgwood Apartments. This is a government housing apartment complex for low-income people. They responded to the gunshot call, then they went and took another call, and then the gunshot call pops back up. As they're driving there, they're asking for a call back because they're like, look, we've already been in the area multiple times today. We haven't freaking seen anything. Can you ask this caller if they have anything relevant so that we can maybe actually figure out why they keep calling her? You know, and also it's like, I might want to talk to that caller and say, listen, okay, you're hearing a gunshot every 5 hours, every 2-3 hours, but if nobody's getting struck, no cars, no anything are getting hit, I'm sorry, maybe you might just need to let this one go. So they were somewhat relaxed going into this call. When citizens call 911 and report gunshots, I think in their mind, they think that we're going to bring a SWAT team or we're going to come guns blazing, like raring to go. And this is a perfect situation of kind of the opposite of what happened before, where they're fairly relaxed. I would be very relaxed in this situation too. Have you encountered this in your career? Where
Oh
you,
yeah, all the time. Yeah, and there's always people out and about. So being out and about isn't necessarily suspicious, right? It's I mean, they're probably out for a reason because this was late at night, right?
Yeah, it's 1 a.m. at this point.
Okay. It's not in a bigger city. That's not like a rare thing for somebody to be out and about. So you may have this call of gunshots and you might just be like, yeah, this guy's around. Maybe he can, we haven't heard it. Maybe this guy knows something. Let's just talk to him real quick.
Yeah.
And it's not a big deal.
And they're super relaxed with him. And right at this point, he pulls a shotgun out from behind him. It takes him a quarter of a second to pull the shotgun out. The officer on the other side of the wagon had his gun drawn already. This officer did not have his gun drawn. He wasn't expecting anything. I guarantee, especially these two officers, from this point on, when they respond to a run with gunshots, they're going to have their guns out. And a person that walks up to them on like this is going to get held at gunpoint, and they're going to be given commands because of what happened next. And I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead to past my introduction. Maybe.
I will say what this officer did is being behind that engine block. I don't know if it was intentionally or not. Probably saved his life.
Well, and I think that's the guy didn't. Maybe the guy would have chose to shoot at him if he wasn't concealed behind the vehicle.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell. I think he dove for cover pretty quick. The standing behind the engine block like he did is a freaking. It's trained. It's the reason that we train to do the things that we do. The officer on the passenger side, he was kind of stuck. There's no place to go. There's no good way to approach this run. They were just going to drive through the area and clear it out. And they happen to drive through the area and they say, oh, look, there's a guy right there. So they decided to approach him. So here's the other side. My internet's being weird.
Drop the gun! Drop the gun! 158, shots fired. He's got a shotgun. He's taking off behind 690. Hey, stay covered. Stay covered.
You can see the other side too.
158, 10-3. Where's the person out here now? 191. Hey, what's going on, man? Did you hear anything?
I don't know why my internet's not working great.
I'm going to blame it on the Iowa internet. It's my internet, not yours.
No, I'm going to blame it on StreamYard. It's their fault. But we were talking about when's the right time to use force, when's not the right time to use force, when do you lose that window, when you gain the window, all the other stuff, and all the things that officers are criticized for. What about a situation like this where they pulled up relaxed? And if this guy was firing slugs or firing an AR or had buckshot in there or some steel shot, those rounds would have gone through that door.
I was talking to somebody today, and I wish I remember who I was talking to, but being a cop sometimes can be the easiest job in the world, depending on what your day's looking like. And then sometimes it can be the absolute hardest, most impossible job in the world, or somewhere in between. It's you can train and be smart and think about these things, but the bottom line, and this was kind of ingrained in my head, is you're never going to be in the perfect position. You're never going to handle the call perfectly. You're never going to be standing the right way. You can just do the best with what you know and what you've been trained. And you have stuff like this, and this is why cops act the way they do, is because we see these videos. Now, does this happen all the time? No, it doesn't, but it happens enough where that's why cops act the way they do, because they want to go home. And I don't know. It's like I want to hit my head on the desk, because I just don't know how to like articulate to people that don't understand that can be super dangerous work, because there's people out there that just are evil. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Like, that is evil.
And that's the reason that officers get the benefit of the doubt in a lot of situations.
They use the benefit of the doubt, you mean?
Yeah. Well, and they, luckily in the courts, it still kind of works most of the time. You know, you can't, a lot of the criminal charges, those are politically motivated criminal charges. Hopefully the court system continues to work. But you know, it's situations like this that give officers the benefit of the doubt when they use force in a situation where they might not have needed it. But it doesn't make it unreasonable. And that's a stand that we're judged on. Yeah. So like when you get all bent out of shape about a guy getting tased who was acting shady, acting like he was breaking into houses and already pulled away from an officer, the officers have seen stuff like this happen before too. So,
Yep.
And like, you know, like I said, you make a mistake, it might be your life. God, this officer that jumped out on the passenger side, he did nothing wrong. He was just thrust into a situation. Like we used to say, sometimes it's just a bad day to be the police. You know, like sometimes there's a corner that's blind and it's not safe, but you got to go around that corner. Someone's got to do it. Sometimes it's a bad day to be the police.
Yep.
This was a wide open area where there's no cover except for the other side of the wagon, you know, and you start taking rounds that close. The sound of the shotgun, the sound of the rounds hitting the wagon, the reverberation of your gun going off, it was madness.
Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
Yeah. And they actually collected themselves pretty quickly after the shooting and were back in pursuit mode in a pretty good amount of time. You know, there was a little bit of criticism from people saying, oh, they hid like cowards behind the truck. Like, okay, you got someone blasting a shotgun at you. What are you going to do? You have to save yourself first. But
well, in that, I don't know. I don't want to bring this up because this is a whole train wreck, but I'm going to. The UPS shooting in Florida. Do you remember that one a couple of years ago?
I don't. You have to remind me the details.
So, long story short, it was like a jewelry heist or something. These guys carjacked a UPS or FedEx. It was FedEx truck, and they went on this pursuit. And the FedEx driver was in the car, and they got stopped in traffic, and it turned into this big shootout. And it was bad. I mean, like innocent people got hit.
This is what you were talking about on the podcast the other day.
Yes, and without going into all the details of it, and there's a lot to look at and dissect on that one. But you know, people made the point that cops were cowards. They were hiding behind cars that had people in them, and I made the point. It's fight or flight. You're being shot at. You're trying not to die. I don't think they looked at those cars, perceived they had people in them. I think they just moved so they didn't die. In a perfect world, would you want to put a civilian in danger? Hell no. Fuck no. But we're just judging people on totally impossible standards of they're not fucking cops are not superheroes.
Yeah.
Right? We don't have superpowers. We're not, and I know all the tactical guys and stuff will get on and say, what they're gonna say, but you haven't been in a car. You don't understand laws. You don't understand policy and procedure. There's a lot to it. Yeah, I think we could look at stuff like that all day long and say, yeah, there was a lot of stuff that went wrong. But I think we have to look at stuff too and look at it reasonably, which we can't do anymore. We can't take a reasonable look at anything anymore because God forbid you have a discussion with a fellow human being and that you disagree. I mean, me and you have disagreed on several points, and I don't want to reach across and beat you up.
No.
Defund Ben.
You know what's funny? Well, I'm not getting that much funding anyway. What's funny is I was thinking about, us hanging out tonight and talking, and how when we were planning this, one of the one of the concepts behind it was to show people that two cops with similar training and similar background are still going to disagree about things. And we have to like flush things out and talk them through before we can fully comprehend what's going on. And the public expects just to have answers, it needs to be black and white. It needs to be right here, right now. They don't understand the gray area or the talking about things to flesh out what was right and what was wrong. And there's going to be some situations. I don't know if the Chicago tasing is the perfect example, but there's going to be a lot of situations where it's going to be split 50-50 down the community. I think
that one would be 50-50.
It might be a good example.
Yeah, I think the Texas thing, I think it'd be probably 25% to maybe 30% would say, no, that was fine. And, the other group would say, no, I wouldn't. I don't think that's a good shoot.
Yeah, I think the overwhelming majority would think it was bad. But the other thing I was thinking about, not only do we need to talk about things to flush them out, but when we don't actually speak to each other, but we just communicate through text message, we don't understand what we're talking about. Like you and I, we're good friends.
Oh, yeah.
And we're like going in opposite directions when we're just texting each other. And it made me laugh because it's kind of like, it's a mirror effect of what's happening in the world right now. Like we don't communicate with each other. We don't hang out with each other. We don't talk on the phone. We just text each other. We go on Twitter. We go on Facebook, Instagram. And that's one of the reasons that nobody can get along right now is because we're not just hanging out and talking. And
and you're exactly right. I mean, we had that video where I was like, why would we do this? God forbid. So, and I was like, I'm open to what he's going to say, right? God forbid you call somebody and talk to him. God forbid that happened. And then once you told me what you were thinking with it, which I'm assuming we're not going to get to it anyway now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh yeah, okay. You know what? Yeah, this makes sense. Let's do it.
Yeah. We kind of went on a different path, which is completely fine.
So buddy, are you okay? I haven't seen the whole thread here, but people have some concern for Spencer, buddy. Do you need? I mean, I don't know what we can do to help. But are you all right, man?
He's been going through some problems for a good year or so. He's been in and out of the hospital. I think one of the live streams recently, he was in the hospital. So we'll just keep an eye on the chat. Let's see. Oh, everyone's telling him what to do.
Yeah, that's why I was. We were having this conversation. I was like, wait, hold on a second. What's going on over here? So I'm a little concerned.
And he's over. His most recent comment is like talking about shooting and tasing and stuff. He's a trooper. I don't know. I'm assuming he knows his own health better than we do because he's been dealing with this for quite some time.
Fair enough.
Do we have time to do the backpack and the guys fighting over the gun?
Yeah, if you want to do that one.
Oh shoot! I screwed it up.
Come on, man! It's a live stream. There's no room for mistakes.
I know, and the fact that I'm like medicated.
We could sing for the guy. The guy wanted us to sing earlier.
Yeah, can you tell him that my voice is all goofed up?
Your voice is always all goofed up.
I don't feel very good.
No, you sound fine to me, actually.
Okay, the microphone hides a lot of the imperfections. Do we have time for this one, or are there any comments or questions that we should just do instead?
It's your show. It's up to you. I mean, I think it's. I mean, like, I have some thoughts on it, but it's just me being a nitpicky asshole. It's good.
Well-
I mean, like it's good policing, but I think there's things that I was like, I don't know, you know.
All right, let's go. So,
Kill the suspense, hit play.
I don't know if this is in the narrator part.
8 p.m. The area patrol, the officers with a real.
Okay, so the officers in this particular car work a proactive unit. They are a unit that they don't take dispatch runs. They go to high crime areas, and they specifically are hunting down people with guns and drugs that are involved in violent crime. So this particular day, they're driving down a street that is known for high crime, high drug activity, high gang activity, and they see a guy on a bicycle riding down the middle of the road and a guy walking down the middle of the road. I don't remember how clear it is when the officers are talking to him, but I think they beeped at him to get out of the road, and the guys refused to get out of the road, so they decided to do a stop on him, and that's kind of where we start off.
Hey, man, you know you can't be in the street like that. You gotta be riding that bike.
I was stopping to do that.
Stop and you turned around, all that craziness. Right?
Asking them for directions.
You gotta pedal.
That dude is stoned.
Oh yeah.
Or
Oh, yeah.
you think about you being a car. Like when we pulled up behind you, we technically have to stop because you're in the middle of the street. So we have to wait for you. You're impeding our traffic. All right. So when you're on a bicycle, think about you being a car, man. You got to signal. You got to stop for stop signs. You got to do all that stuff. Hey, man. Will you smoke marijuana? Do you have any marijuana? Yeah, I'm smelling a bunch of marijuana coming off of you. So you have no marijuana on your person right now. Do you know what marijuana smells like?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you telling me you don't have any marijuana in your bag? Okay. Hang tight for me. You're not free to go, okay? All right. Relax. You all right? Stop. Don't move.
Can you let me go?
No, you're not free to go. What do you have in your bag? Gun.
Right here's the big yikes.
We're looking at this differently. You know
I
what?
cringe every time I see
Why?
that gun come out.
Oh, okay. All right, never mind. I thought you had an issue with where the dude's hand was, and I was like, dude, he's fighting with a guy. That shit's gonna happen.
No, I don't have an issue. Well, here in a minute, one of the officers straight up he didn't have him in a chokehold, but he had his hand like here, and he was driving his thumb directly into this guy's carotid. And a lot of people had issue with that.
Well, maybe don't have a gun and fight the cop.
That was
Here's your fucking solution.
What do you think of the stop so far?
All right, here's my bitch, and if people haven't seen this already, and I think you could kind of see it. You see it more on the second body camera, but for me, and again, this is just me being nitpicky. I'm telling you, I probably would have done this as on the street. I don't like the idea of them splitting up. I think you pick the guy, and I think picking the guy with the backpack on a bike is probably your highest probability. Now you have the issue of, the other guy runs around the corner and he ambushes you. I totally get that, but they get separated for a little bit and they're both doing different things at the same time. And so, you lose your cover, so to speak. So they're basically solo officers and there's a bunch of other people around. So I like the whole contact and cover type thing. This is good proactive police work though. You know what I mean? Like
there was a lot to it. And it happens very quickly. Yeah. I think most people missed. And a lot of people were like, oh, well, they searched him because he had marijuana. No, they were questioning him and he tried to run. And that is what started this whole thing. Now, they probably would have gotten a good search on it and everything. But people were like, oh, they're beating him up because he had weed. Nope. They're beating him up because he tried to run. They had a good stop. They tackled him and he pulled a gun out. And that's like everything happened because of his actions.
And real quick, because there's some conversation I see in here about the carotid thing. I'm just going to throw it out. We were taught carotid. I know that's really going away in a lot of places, but I looked at carotid almost like deadly force, right? This is a deadly force call. Dude's pulling out a gun. deadly force. This is a deadly force call. I didn't feel comfortable on carotid in other situations because I think if you don't train on it a lot, there's a high probability to fail. I remember being in training, and you'd see people come up and they'd say, "Oh, well, you want your elbow here and this," and that would happen to me. And I made a mental note to myself, this is a good tool. I'd probably only use this in deadly force because, and you could shit on me for not doing more training on it, but that was just the way I looked at the carotid, right? Carotid saves lives. I don't know who needs to hear this, but in this situation, let's just say they did the carotid on the guy and they got the gun away from the dude and they didn't shoot him. Do you want the carotid being done on somebody, or do you want the cops to just shoot the guy?
Yeah. Well, we're not taught any chokeholds whatsoever. Period. So, but we're also taught if it's a lethal force situation, there's basically no rules. That is what we're told. And everybody should be under that belief that if you're in a close quarters,
the public is not, and that's the problem.
Yeah, it's insane. But it's just crazy. But yeah, when you're on the ground like that and a dude pulls out a gun, all bets are off. If there's a brick next to his head and you want to smash his face with a brick, do it. You know what I mean? Like,
I had many thoughts about, like, if I was rolling up on a call where a guy had a gun, that I'd probably just run him over.
Oh yeah. I had one. It was a pursuit. It was years ago. Guy shot, and we didn't know she was dead at the time, but he killed his wife at her place of work. And they gave a really good description of his vehicle. We were heading up in the area, and another car was behind the vehicle. I pulled in. I was the third car in the pursuit. Chased him out on the freeway and then back onto a regular city street. They spiked him. He stopped. He finally stopped. And the officer that was the number one car in the pursuit was a newer officer. And I didn't know what his mindset was, but I was going to make sure that this guy did not walk away. As we pulled up, I was the third car. I went around the first two cars, and I knew. This is kind of like what I was talking about the drugstore run the other day. I knew 100% beyond a doubt if he got out of that truck, I was going to fucking kill him with my car. I wasn't going to take the time to get out and shoot him. I wasn't going to shoot through the windshield. I was going to splatter him. As I went around the cars, his door didn't open. So then I was like, oh, gotta stop, change of plans. But yeah, I was in a situation where, I was thinking ahead. If this happens, then what do you do? If this happens, what do you do? If this happens, what do you do? I had probably 3 scenarios in my head, and I thought that the most likely event was that he's going to get out with his gun, and that I was just going to smash him. So yeah, all bets are off. Yeah. See how this goes, because it transitions in a moment to the other officer.
That's right. Put the gun down. I'm gonna fucking kill you. Shot. I'm gonna kill you. You're gonna get shot. I'm gonna kill you. Let go of that fucking gun. Get your fucking hand away, dude. Get him under control. Give him the gun, bro. I don't got the gun.
He's like, I don't got the gun. Like, yes, you do. You still have it in your hand, dumbass.
Stop struggling.
Again, people will say anything while they're being arrested.
Yeah. Right there.
Back in the house. Come get the fucking gun. Let's go. I can't be. Get out of the fucking car and get over here.
I love that. Who the fuck is sitting in the car while they're fighting?
I don't know. I think they were all very new.
Get the fuck out of the car.
And it also shows how much these officers know, and they're like, what's the word I'm looking for? Their environmental awareness, that they're literally fighting with this guy over a gun. The guy over here, you can't see my finger. The guy that's on top, that his knee is kind of on the backpack, he's watching the crowd, making sure that they don't pull a gun on him, shoot him, jump him, do anything. And the guy with his hand right here on his throat is actively fighting him. And I think the guy on top also had his hand across the guy's body, pinning the gun to the ground. This was a very, very active scene. Like these guys did a fantastic job.
Yeah, and I mean, kind of like the shotgun thing. I mean, this is a big fucking pucker factor, you know? Because you can't lose that fight. If you lose the fight, the guy's going to shoot you, you know?
Yeah. Or your buddy.
Yeah.
Which is even worse.
Well, and to rewind to the beginning of this video, we talked about, you know, the guy pulling away and the drunk guy and stuff like that. You know, we looked at it one way, and obviously the other guy, the kid, looked at it a different way. But again, this all kind of comes from, what's the common denominator in all of these situations? People pulling away and doing goofy shit. And we're not going to, people are always going to do that stuff. But I just wish that the public understood, like, these are danger cues to us that would heighten us to be a little more sensitive to the issues.
That was funny.
That was funny. What kind of trees do you guys have in Ohio this time of year? I mean, all times of year. I guess they don't go away.
They don't go away.
They don't fly away for the winter.
No. We have regular American trees. That's a weird question.
You don't know what kind of tree? You're not a tree lover? You're not the Lorax? You don't You kind of look like the Lorax. Why never I never called you that?
The firefighters call me that all the time. They're like, oh, it's the Lorax.
That makes me happy.
We have all varieties of trees that you find in North America. In my yard, I have a maple tree,
Thanks,
an
Onyx.
apple tree.
He doesn't fucking know what's going on, but you know what's going on. Maple and oak.
Well, there's also in my yard, I have a maple tree. I have an oak, or no, I don't have an oak tree. I have a maple tree, an apple tree, a crab apple tree, and a pear tree.
I don't. You are clearly not an expert on trees. I don't trust anything you're saying.
And I also have a pine tree, a white pine in my backyard.
Did you say a white pine?
I did. Not a black pine. I don't allow that in my yard.
What?
Good night, Jess. Thanks for coming. You're always here. Regular American trees. See? I almost bought an oak because of the tree in my front yard. I bought a blaze orange maple. And I really wanted an oak because I wanted to have acorns and stuff, but oak trees just take too long to grow. So I got the maple tree.
I think we're gonna get some maples. Very, very excited. These guys are fighting for their lives, and we're talking about fucking trees. Ridiculous.
We could do this. But I think we made our point that this is a lethal force situation. And I did see some comments about like, oh, these officers could have easily used a taser. People that say that don't know how tasers work, and they don't know how lethal force works.
Lethal force.
Yeah, you always meet lethal force with lethal force. That's why he had his hands on his neck. And actually, they could have done way more.
They could have killed him. They could have done a contact wound on that dude.
Yep, maybe many officers would have put one right in his dome. I think
he's lucky to be alive.
Yeah, one of the main reasons they didn't is because he was squirming so hard. These guys were both good. One of them is a defensive tactics instructor with the department. So, and it might even be the one that did this little part here. I'm not sure. But no, it just, this, from the moment that they went to the ground and the gun was discovered, it was handled nearly perfect. So people that have criticism of this are fools. And that was the main thing I wanted to talk about. Do you agree?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we could kind of like, pick at things, but it's not fair. Like we've all been in that situation where like, yeah, maybe don't separate me. You know what? These guys probably ride together all the time. They do this shit all the time,
Yeah.
And, it worked out. It worked out and everybody went home. I mean, that's good policing. And, some of the, I think 556 mentioned the backpack thing. Dude riding a bike with a backpack that's not a kid going to school, I would guarantee he's got a dope and in this case a gun.
Yeah.
And he ended up being a dealer. So
yep. I had a thought, but I lost it.
Because we were talking about trees and it just totally went away.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know. There's something else.
No, I mean, I mean, unless anybody has any questions in here that maybe we didn't answer in our rants.
I haven't been paying super close attention to the chat. Oh, Jeannie's here. I haven't seen her for a while. I was wondering how you were doing. It's good to see you here. So speaking of trees, Lenny is a tree. That would be a spruce tree.
It's a pine tree.
No, it's not just any pine. I think it's a spruce. It's got pointy, sharp needles.
Now you're a fucking expert.
I was an expert the whole time.
Because you're the Lorax.
I'm a tree expert. I got to get this
trees.
Picture off of my screen. I'm sitting there looking at that guy getting choked. We'll see with the next one. We'll talk offline about what topic we're going to do next time. I have some ideas. I do. I'm curious how the chat felt about the layout of this live stream. If you like the multiple ideas, how we went back and forth, let us know if we spent too much time on the topics, if we need to kind of pick up the pace a little bit. I don't know. I'm just curious. Give us that feedback probably in the comments once the live stream is over, because we're not going to sit around and wait for them. I had fun. Did you have fun?
I'm a pig. Of course I had fun.
That was awesome. I thought it went well. For the people that don't know, this is what our conversations are like when we talk to each other, right?
Oh yeah, we'll argue about shit like that has nothing to do with us. Cop things across the country, and I was like, "Well, what do you think about this?" You're like, "Well, no, hold on a second there, Lenny. Let me tell you as the Lorax what I think about this. Also, what kind of trees are natural to that area?"
You're the one that started the trees. Not me.
You are forever the Lorax.
That's fine. I accept it. Did I tell you about showing up at the firehouse on a call about a fight and what they all came out and said to me?
No.
So I was dispatched, and I'm going to say a call because everyone makes fun of me for saying a run. I was dispatched to a call.
Run.
Well, I always say I'm dispatched to a call, but I'll say I was on a run. It's a local thing. It's just how everybody calls it a run here. So I was dispatched to a call about a fight at the firehouse. And it was like guys out front fighting. So I pull into the little turnaround where the fire engines pull in, and I got out and there's nobody fighting. I look at the bus stop across the road. There's two older black guys kind of arguing with each other. So I walked over and they're like, "Oh, he's here now." And they square up like I'm supposed to be the referee or something. And I was like, no. And I'm trying to separate them because that's just what you do. You take one party this way, one party that way. And
you don't just tase them?
No, or just start macing. Although I've heard stories. And it was one of those ones where I'm there by myself because I didn't believe that there were going to be people fighting in the street. Most fights are over in a minute and a half, which is longer than I last. But anyway, I pulled up, I got one guy, I brought him across the street. And then the guy that I left on the far side of the street decided to come over, and they're about to square up again. And I'm standing in the middle. I got my arms out. I'm like, "Guys," and they're like older. Like I could have beaten them both down by myself. Like it was not scary for me, but it was just annoying for me. And so I've got like guys, I'm trying to keep them separated. It's kind of hilarious because they're both drunk and just being silly, but they really wanted to kill each other. And I'm at the firehouse, so they all come out and they're all standing on the other side of my cruiser. All these firefighters, these big strapping young men that have been sleeping all day. They're well rested, and they're standing on the far side of my cruiser, and they're like, "Hey," I can hear them talking to each other as I'm listening to these two dudes that are trying to kill each other. I'm listening to the firefighters because I'm thinking any minute now they're going to come over and help me. And they're talking to themselves. They're like, "Is that Ben?" And I heard another one say, "Yeah, that is Ben." And I look over, I'm like, "Hey guys, what's going on?" And they go, "Where's your mustache?" Because I had just shaved my mustache. Like I'm trying to keep these two guys from killing each other, and I'm desperately hoping that these guys are going to help me. And all they want to know is why I shaved my mustache, because they love the Lorax mustache. It was
I
maybe it
don't.
was funnier in my mind.
I'm really upset that I never picked up on that before, because now that you say it, I'm like, oh fuck yeah, he's the Lorax. How could I have missed that joke?
You know, I used to shave the mustache off every like September 1st, and then I would start growing it again in October for like mustache November. And the thing is, if you want to have a handlebar mustache, you can't start from like growth. You have to start a fresh mustache. So if I started on like mid-September and I waited until the end of November, I could have a full handlebar mustache. And I tell you what, you want to see a Lorax, that's a Lorax. But right now I keep it trim. I can't deal with that. It goes up my nose when I'm trying to sleep. It gets in my mouth. It's horrible.
Yeah, that's the worst thing about having a mustache is you start chewing on it sometimes. It's a little long. I mean, it's nice to find food in there if you're hungry. You know,
Right
along the way.
now I keep finding snot in it because like my nose will run and I don't know it's running, and I'll touch it and it's like cold snot. It's awesome.
It's that season, buddy. It's time.
It is. It is
With
what
the
it is.
type, with the nose I have, it's, you know, obviously it's running a lot.
I'm not sure what this means. Question, please. In the UK, police have video recorder embroidered on their harness.
Oh, maybe they're saying that there's like maybe like a warning, like, hey, you're being recorded type thing.
I don't know. They have a lot of weird laws over in these different places. And as far as de-escalating, I don't think so. Everyone here knows that we're recording.
I don't know though. There could be something to that where if I don't know if you've ever done this thing, but you know, you try different things as a parent to get your kids to act right. And you know, I've done the thing where like, hey, I'm going to take a video of your dirty room and send it to your friends, kind of thing, or I'm going to record you throwing a fit and put it on the internet, which you wouldn't do, but it's just something to try, you know. And I almost wonder, like, if you put that, like, if we had it on big bold letters on the TAC Fest, like you're being recorded, that maybe people would be cognizant of that, because the camera is small. I just wonder if people maybe they don't think about it. I would be curious if that changes things. I don't think it would, but it'd be interesting to look at.
I think it's somewhat of a cultural thing, and it probably came about from when they first started having body cameras, and it's just something that never went away. Because
I would be curious about the psychological element of that.
But I think it'd be probably works better on British subjects than it does on American subjects. Because like when I show up on a run, it's like it's used as a threat. They're so stupid. They're like, "Oh, are you recording? Are you recording?" I'm like, "Of course I'm recording, because you're a dumbass and I don't want to get caught, you know, not recording." But they use it as a threat, and then they don't know what else to say. So I don't know. Here, people expect it.
The answer is no, by the way.
Yeah, and I think he said that he agrees.
Oh no, I was saying the answer to no,
like a
blank.
It depends on what the answer. Bull hamster.
Do you see what's going on right now?
Oh, I see it out of the corner of my eye now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, what is the deal with Yellowstone? I haven't seen it. I've heard it's like a soap opera for guys.
Yeah, but I hate it. It's like it's like Grey's Anatomy on a farm.
I'm out. I'll never watch it now. People tell me it's really good, but
a lot of people like it. I don't like it. I'm overly critical of TV and movies. I can't watch anything military or police anymore. Southland was the last police drama that I could watch. And as far as military stuff, there's not much. So I don't watch Blue Bloods. I don't watch any of that stuff. I don't have time for TV anyway. I watch like stuff that's meant to be over the top, like Star Wars, which Lenny hasn't watched Andor at all. So
dude,
can't talk
I've
about it.
been so unbelievably busy, which I don't know. It's weird to say I'm busy because I don't have a real job, but fuck, I've been busy. I don't know what was going on last year, but like I watched the Clone Wars cartoon in like a couple of weeks, and I watched The Office. Apparently, I don't know.
I
found
can't
stuff
get my
to do.
kids. I can't get my kids to do Clone Wars, but
God, it's so
we're
good.
doing
It's
Rebels.
so Rebels is not as good, but I like it. Clone Wars is God, I love it.
I'll have to tell them that Clone Wars is better. We're gonna watch Rebels, then we'll go back and watch Clone Wars, even though it's out of order.
Yeah, Bad Batch is also good.
Yeah, we watched that too.
Yeah.
Oh, here's Pink Mosquito. She comments everywhere, and she comments on my Instagram as well. When I talk about military stuff, I have to kind of say post year 2000. Maybe everything after Saving Private Ryan has basically been garbage. A lot of the stuff before that was amazing. MASH is one of the greatest television shows ever made.
I grew up on MASH.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We just watched the movie again the other day when our internet was out. I have the DVDs left over from my deployment.
I don't think I've seen the movie. I've seen probably every episode of the TV show though.
The movie was great. It's a little bit different, but you learn. Was it in the movie or was it early season of the TV show? Can't remember the origin of like Hot Lips Houlihan. Was that in the movie? I can't remember.
I don't know.
It was good.
It's been so long. It was one of those things where it was always on late at night, and we didn't have as many choices back then, but I don't think I would have changed it anyway. It was just so good in that song and those characters.
Yeah.
It was just a fantastic show.
If you watch the movie, the theme song, they actually play the lyrics instead of just the whatever instrument it was, like flute. And do you know the lyrics to that song?
It's like suicide is painless or something.
Yeah.
Like that, right. Yeah.
So
My
depressing.
mom used to tell me about that. And I was like, there's lyrics to the song. And I looked it up one day. I was like, oh shit, there is.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. 223 is over here losing his mind. You can tell that he's a retired cop because he's full of horrible jokes.
I'm not going to lie. I am very excited about, next Thursday's Thanksgiving, is it not?
It is. We're going to have to figure out how we're doing, if we're doing something next week or not.
I don't know if I can. We might have to take a
week. We might.
But I am very excited for mashed potatoes. I really like macaroni salad. You guys are going to find that about me is I have it for whatever reason. I really like macaroni salad. And I went to the store today because I was like, I have to have macaroni salad for Thanksgiving. I know it's a week ahead, but I got to just make sure I have it. They didn't have any. So I'm kind of stressing that a little bit because Thanksgiving will not be the same without macaroni salad.
Is that a Colorado thing?
No, that's a me thing. I'm fucking.
Oh, okay. I mean, I like macaroni salad, but I think of it as more of a picnic food.
It's an every time food. When I'm not that anybody cares, but when I'm late night, if I'm like up editing a podcast or I'm doing a podcast, it's probably why I'm fat is I'll be like, you know what? I'm going to have a little mac salad while I edit this podcast. It makes me happy. When
I edit, it's on my days off and I'm editing all day long. So I eat my regular diet because I don't have time to eat. I actually eat less when I'm editing. Well, everyone's on a diet. It's just some people are on a strict diet and some people are on a loose diet and some people are on a good diet and some people are on a bad diet.
I'm on a seafood diet.
Everything you eat is part of your diet. I try to be on it, but I've been on a shit diet. Also, when I'm not feeling well, I eat like a hog. So when did I start marking off sick? Tuesday. On Tuesday, I went to McDonald's and had 2 sausage, egg, and cheese McMuffins. And then on Wednesday, I know that was just in one sitting. I was stuffed.
Big deal.
And then on Wednesday, I went to Chick-fil-A and got the same thing. And I don't remember. And Tuesday, I had to run to the store to get some like cold and flu medication. And on the way back, I had 2 McDoubles from McDonald's. And then when the wife and kids got home, we had dinner.
You know what's bullshit? A McDouble is basically a double cheeseburger with only 1 slice of cheese.
Yeah, but
and
it's
it's
better.
only 10 cents cheaper.
It used to be $1 though. I got addicted to them when they were $1.
You know, and that's all right. We probably should go at some point, but holy shit, is McDonald's not incredibly expensive anymore?
I don't go there often enough to know, but I think everything is expensive.
We're kind of in this weird thing where, like, if the kid has a ball game, it's like we don't have time to make dinner, so we got to run to McDonald's, and to feed all of us is insane. It's like $50 for 6 people.
Holy cow!
Yeah,
like I was mad because I spent $70 on soup the other day because I ordered us each. Well, I went to a pho restaurant. Are you familiar with pho? It's PHO. It's a Thai soup.
My mustache is floating, but no, I'm not. That's very bougie.
It's going crazy. Oh, it's very bougie. What they do is they give you this broth that's like the most amazing broth you've ever had in your life. I can't describe it. It's just amazing. And they give you your noodles. Like this? No, it's almost clear. And they give you your noodles on the side, and you get raw meat. So you put your noodles and your meat and everything in the bowl. Meat? Yes, raw. Vietnamese. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I screwed that up. It's Vietnamese. You put your noodles and your meat and everything in the bowl, and then you pour the hot broth over top. So the hot broth cooks the meat because it's sliced like super thin. It's like the best thing ever. But I ordered 4 larges for my wife and my 2 small children. But it worked out because the girls split one, and then I had the other one for lunch the next day. So I've had a soupy week. Probably means something different.
If they've had a soupy week, it means something else is going on. But
that's
whatever.
What I was saying. I had beef stew tonight for dinner, like right before I came down.
It's almost soup season. It's
100% soup season.
When I'm being good, I like to eat salads for lunch in the winter or in the summer, and then in the winter, I'll do soup because I don't know, salad just doesn't taste good in the winter. I don't know. You need something to warm. And I started stocking up slowly on my soup. I'm pretty plain with my soup though. I like just a good vegetable soup, or it just depends. You know what they got. No pho though.
No pho. Well, if you get the opportunity, it's amazing. We kind of meal prep, or we make crock pot meals so that we can eat on for like several days. So I bought 3 pounds of like stew meat, threw some carrots, potatoes in there, and made stew. It was amazing. Better than what you get at the store. And then
meal prep is the way to go, by the way. It makes life so much simpler. You pay the price for a day or two, or for a day in the kitchen, but when you just gotta throw some shit together, it makes a big family.
Giant Tupperwares full of food in the fridge. It's especially with kids and sports and all that, you got to.
Yep.
Souping your pants. Okay, so we're gonna take Thanksgiving week off. 99% positive we're taking Thanksgiving. If something changes, we'll let you guys know. The week after, do you remember that I sent a video in the chat today about someone pooping while they were being arrested? Did you watch it?
I've seen that a bunch of times. Yeah,
I need to find the long version of it. We might play it on stream.
Yeah, I'm thinking tentatively. I'm looking at my calendar here, which is very professional. But to give you guys an idea, I think Thursday next week is going to be the way to go for me. I don't know what works better for people. I could probably do Friday, but it'd have to be
Thursday is literally Thanksgiving.
No, the week after, December 1st.
December 1st?
December 1st.
Okay. Thursday, December 1st works for me.
Yeah. There it is. It's a date, kids.
Alrighty. We just announced it. On that note, I think we're done here.
Yeah.
I had fun.
I had fun too.
I like going over this kind of thing. We might do, because tonight we're talking about some somewhat controversial uses of force. I like doing these themes. Do you think that'll work?
Yeah, we could do furries next time.
You probably have a lot more experience with that than me.
No.
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 We'll see. I'm gonna hit the end button.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks everyone for hanging out. Thanks for the people that donated, especially. It's good to see you all. We will see you again on December the 1st.
Yep.
All right.
Bye-bye, guys. Thank you.